Okay, I'm really excited for this teaching today. This teaching comes to you by way of the text of the Course in Miracles. This is chapter 2, and it's the separation and the atonement. Now, the origins of separation. All right, to extend is a fundamental aspect of God, which He gave to His Son. In the creation, God extended Himself to His creations and imbued them with the same loving will to create. You have not only been fully created, but have also been created perfect. There is no emptiness in you. Because of your likeness to your Creator, you are creative. No child of God can lose this ability because it is inherent in what you are. But you can use it inappropriately by projecting. The inappropriate use of extension or projection occurs when you believe that some emptiness or lack exists in you and that you can fill it with your own ideas instead of truth. This process involves the following steps. First, you believe that what God created can be changed by your own mind. Second, you believe that what is perfect can be rendered imperfect or lacking. Third, you believe that you can distort the creations of God, including yourself. Fourth, you believe that you can create yourself and that the direction of your own creation is up to you. These related distortions represent a picture of what actually occurred in the separation, or the detour into fear. None of this existed before the separation, nor does it actually exist now. Everything God created is like Him, or I like to say her, or it, or universe. You guys, this is where the universe or source came from, because there's a lot of people who don't want to call God Him. A lot of people have a bad connotation with the father figure in the form of a male. And this is the truth. And this is where a lot of problems occur. So, him, her, source, energy, divine, love, call it what you want. Call it whatever resonates within your own being and what works for you. I call it the goddess a lot of the times. I call it God a lot of the times, but for my own self, I call it the goddess within me. Boom. There she is. All right. So here we go. Extension is let me go back. So everything God created is like Him or her or source. Okay. Extension, as undertaken by God, is similar to the inner radiance that the child of the Father inherit from Him. Its real source is internal. This is as true of the Son as it is of the Father. In this sense, the creation includes both the creation of the Son by God and the Son's creations when His mind is healed. This requires God's endowment of the Son with free will, because of all loving creation is freely given in one continuous line in which all aspects are of the same order. The Garden of Eden, or the pre-separation condition, was a state of mind in which nothing was needed. When Adam listened to the lies of the serpent, all he heard was untruth. You do not have to continue to believe what is not true unless you choose to do so. All that can literally disappear in the twinkling of an eye because it is merely a misperception. What is seen in dreams seems to be very real. What you see in illusions in your mind seem to be very real. And they are. You've been learning that your thoughts are not idle, that they create form on some level, either truth or untruth, but they create. So yet the Bible says that a deep sleep fell upon Adam, and nowhere ever in the Bible does it reference that he ever woke up? Okay, this is why I almost call this program a journey to awakening. You have to wake up to who you are. And the truth of who you are is that God is within you. And as you align your mind to the mind of God, you become a creator like God. The world has not yet experienced any comprehensive reawakening or rebirth until now. The world is waking up, you guys, and this program is a huge part of it. Such a rebirth is impossible as long as you continue to project or miscreate. It still remains within you, however, to extend as God extended his spirit to you. In reality, this is your only choice because your free will was given to you for your joy in creating the perfect. All fear, anger, hate, greed, judgment, separation, attack is ultimately reducible to the basic misperception that you have the ability to usurp the power of God. Of course, you neither can nor have been able to do this. Here is the real basis from your escape from fear. The escape is brought about by your acceptance of the atonement, which enables you to realize that your errors have never really occurred. Only after the deep sleep fell upon Adam could he experience nightmares. If a light is suddenly turned on while someone is dreaming a fearful dream, he may initially interpret the light itself as part of his dream and become afraid of it. However, when he awakens, the light is correctly perceived as the release from the dream, which is then no longer accorded reality. This release does not depend on illusions. The knowledge that illuminates not only sets you free, but also shows you clearly that you are free. Whatever lies you may believe are of no concern here to the miracle, which can heal any of them with equal ease. It makes no distinctions among misperceptions. The sole concern is to distinguish between truth on the one hand and error on the other. Some miracles may seem to be of greater magnitude than others, but remember, the first principle in this course is there are no order of difficulties in miracles. In reality, you are perfectly unaffected by all expressions of lack of love. These can be from yourself and others, from yourself to others, or from others to you. Peace is an attribute in you. You cannot find it outside. Illness is some form of external searching. Health is inner peace. It enables you to remain unshaken by a lack of love from without and capable through your acceptance of miracles of correcting the conditions proceeding from lack of love in others. Did you catch that? Illness is a form of searching from external sources. Health is always inner peace. It always is an inner game, you guys. Okay, section 2 in chapter 2. This part's called the atonement as defense. You can do anything I ask. I have asked you to perform miracles and have made it clear that miracles are natural, corrective, healing, and universal. There is nothing they cannot do, but they cannot be performed in the spirit of doubt or fear. When you are afraid of anything, you are acknowledging its power to hurt you. Remember that where your heart is, there is also your treasure. You believe in what you value. If you are afraid, you are valuing wrongly. Your understanding will then inevitably value wrongly, and endowing all thoughts with equal power will inevitably destroy peace. This is why the Bible speaks of, quote, the peace of God which passeth all understanding, end quote. This peace is totally incapable of being shaken by errors of any kind. It denies the ability of anything not of God to affect you. This is the proper use of denial. It is not used by hiding anything, but to correct error. It brings all error into the light, and since error and darkness are the same, it corrects error automatically. True denial is a powerful protective device. You can and should deny any belief that error can hurt you. This kind of denial is not a concealment, but a correction. Your right mind depends on it. Denial of error is a strong defense to truth. But denial of truth results in miscreation, the projections of the ego. In the service of the right mind, the denial of error frees the mind. It reestablishes the freedom of the will. When the will is really free, it cannot miscreate because it recognizes only truth. You can defend truth as well as error. The means are easier to understand after the value of the goal is firmly established. It is a question of what it is for. Everyone defends his treasure and will do it automatically. The real questions are, what do you treasure and how much do you treasure it? Once you have learned to consider these questions and to bring them into all your actions, you will have little difficulty in clarifying the means. The means are available whenever you ask. You can, however, save time if you do not protract this step unduly. The correct focus will shorten it immeasurably. The atonement is the only defense that cannot be used destructively because it is not a device that you have made. The atonement principle was in effect long before the atonement began. The principle was love, and the atonement was an act of love. Acts were not necessary before the separation because belief in space and time did not even exist. It was only after the separation that the atonement and the conditions necessary for its fulfillment were planned. Then, a defense so splendid was needed that it could not be misused, although it could be refused. Refusal could not, however, turn it into a weapon of attack, which is the inherent characteristic of other defenses. The atonement thus becomes the only defense that is not a two-edged sword. It can only heal. The atonement was built into the space and time belief to set a limit on the need for the belief itself and ultimately to make learning complete. The atonement is the final lesson. Learning itself, like the classrooms in which it occurs, is temporary. The ability to learn has no value when change is no longer necessary. The eternally creative have nothing to learn. You can learn to improve your perceptions and can become a better and better learner. This will bring you into closer and closer accord with the sonship. But the sonship itself is a perfect creation, and perfection is not a matter of degree. Only while there is belief in differences is learning meaningful. Evolution is a process in which you seem to proceed from one degree to the next. You correct your previous missteps by stepping forward. This process is actually incomprehensible in temporal terms because you return as you go forward. The atonement is a device by which you can free yourself from the past and go ahead. It undoes your past errors, thus making it unnecessary for you to keep retracing your steps without advancing in your return. In this sense, the atonement saves time, but like the miracle it serves, it does not abolish it. As long as there is a need for atonement, there is a need for time. But the atonement is as a completed plan as a unique relationship to time. Until the atonement is complete, its various phases will proceed in time. But the whole atonement stands at time's end. At that point, the bridge of return has been built. The atonement is a total commitment. You may still think this is associated with loss, a mistake all the separated sons of God make in one way or another. It is hard to believe a defense that cannot attack is the best defense. This is what it is meant by the meek shall inherit the earth. They will literally take it over because of their strength. A two-way defense is inherently weak, precisely because it has two edges. It can be turned against you very unexpectedly. This possibility cannot be controlled except by miracles. The miracle turns the defense of atonement to your real protection. And as you become more and more secure, you assume your natural talent of protecting others, knowing yourself as both a brother and a son. I'm going to keep moving forward really quick on this one into section 3, the altar of God. The atonement can only be accepted within you by releasing the inner light. Since the separation, defenses have been used almost entirely to defend against the atonement and thus maintain this separation. This is generally seen as a need to protect the body. The many body fantasies in which minds engage arise from the distorted belief that the body can be used as a means for attaining atonement. There's no attainment of atonement. It just is. You already are atoned for. You're already whole. You're already divine. You're already worthy. I'm off script here because I know this. Perceiving the body as a temple is only the first step in correcting this distortion because it alters only part of it. It does recognize that atonement in physical terms is impossible. The next step, however, is to realize that a temple is not a structure at all. Its true holiness lies at the inner altar around which the structure is built. What is that, you guys? What is it? Our body is the temporary. Our soul is the permanent. We have to align to our soul, to our spirit, to this amazing inner light that is aligned to love all of the time. It's who you are. Right now, it's who you are. It's your consciousness. Your consciousness is either aligned to love or fear. Period. End of story. I could end it there, but I will keep going. Okay, back onto the script. The emphasis on beautiful structures is a sign of the fear of atonement and an unwillingness to reach the altar itself. Does that make you think of anything? I can't stop going off script. That's okay. Just the people who praise things outside and never find this holy inner altar. Yeah, it's okay to have a perfect, to attain and to hope for and to try for perfection in all these different areas of your life, but not in sacrifice to your soul. Not in sacrifice to that and to the soul of others, to the soul of your brothers, to our unity. Okay, I'm going to read that again. The emphasis on beautiful structures is a sign of the fear of atonement and an unwillingness to reach the altar itself. The real beauty of the temple cannot be seen with the physical eye. Spiritual sight, on the other hand, cannot see the structure at all because it is perfect vision. It can, however, see the altar with perfect clarity. For perfect effectiveness, the atonement belongs at the center of the inner altar, where it undoes the separation and restores the wholeness of mind. Before the separation, the mind was invulnerable to fear because fear did not exist. Both the separation and the fear are miscreations that must be undone for the restoration of the temple and for the opening of the altar to receive the atonement. This heals the separation by placing within you the one effective defense against all separation thoughts and making you perfectly invulnerable. The acceptance of the atonement by everyone is only a matter of time. This may appear to contradict free will because of the inevitability of the final decision, but it is not so. You can temporize and you are capable of enormous procrastination, but you cannot depart entirely from your Creator. Who set the limits on your ability to miscreate? An imprisoned will engenders a situation which, in the extreme, becomes altogether intolerable. Tolerance for pain may be high, but it is not without limit. Eventually, everyone begins to recognize, however dimly, that there must be a better way. As this recognition becomes more firmly established, it becomes a turning point. This ultimately reawakens spiritual vision, simultaneously weakening the investment in physical sight. The alternating investment in the two levels of perception is usually experienced as conflict, which can become very acute. But the outcome is certain as God. Spiritual vision literally cannot see error and merely looks for atonement. All solutions the physical eye seeks dissolve. Spiritual vision looks within and recognizes immediately that the altar has been defiled and needs to be repaired and protected. Perfectly aware of the right defense as it passes over all others, looking past error to truth. Because of the strength of its vision, it brings the mind into its service. This reestablishes the power of the mind and makes it increasingly unable to tolerate delay, realizing that it only adds unnecessary pain. As a result, the mind becomes increasingly sensitive to what it would once have regarded as a very minor intrusion of discomfort. The children of God are entitled to the perfect comfort that comes from perfect trust. Until they achieve this, they waste themselves and their true creative powers on useless attempts to make themselves more comfortable by inappropriate means. Oh, hello. Oh, hello. Let's wake up here to that. That's huge. How many times have you felt how many times have you tolerated pain? How many times have you sought comfort outside of yourself? But the real means are already provided and do not involve any effort at all on their part. The atonement is the only gift that is worthy of being offered at the altar of God because of the value of the altar itself. It was created perfect and is entirely worthy of receiving perfection. God and his creations are completely dependent on each other. He depends on them because he created them perfect. He gave them his peace so that they could not be shaken and could not be deceived. Whenever you are afraid, you are deceived, and your mind cannot serve the Holy Spirit. This starves you by denying you your daily bread. God is lonely without his sons, and they are lonely without him. They must learn to look upon the world as a means of healing the separation. The atonement is the guarantee that they will ultimately succeed.